Now, this DPPO is essentially an alcohol control zone by any other name, and this order will allow a constable or any other accredited persons under Section 41 and 42 and Schedule 5 of the Police Reform Act 2002 to require a person not to drink in a public place, and also that they can be requested to surrender any alcohol opened or unopened. So, why are we introducing it? Well, first of all, displacement. First of all, we've got internal displacement. In Barnet, we already have 4 control zones, and the one that I'm most familiar with is North Finchley. In North Finchley, it has actually worked very well. At Tally Ho Corner, there used to be a large number of drinkers around the pub, outside the pub. Unfortunately, one of the problems is that having introduced the controlled drinking zone, those drinkers then went 200 yards up the road, sat on a wall and said, "You can't touch us." And that was part of the problem. Externally, we have a bigger problem down the west side of the borough from Harrow to Brent, where both boroughs have full alcohol control zones. Street drinkers are just crossing the road and coming into Barnet in places like Edgware, Burnt Oak and Colindale. It is an increasing problem. As pubs close, people drink more on the streets. Unemployment gives people more time to spend all day drinking on the streets. About half of the street drinkers in Barnet are actually East Europeans, and that's part of their culture, which they've brought to here. And one of the problems, I put betting shops, but betting shops aren't the problem. It's the fact that in one particular case in Edgware, we have about 8 to 9 people who drink outside the betting shop all day long. People feel intimidated by them, and they block the streets. The antisocial behaviour is a major problem. It does stem from a lot of the street drinking. So you're going to get shouting, you'll get abuse of residents. They block the streets, as I've suggested, but also they fight. We've had some big fights down in Golders Green. Urinating in public, it is disgusting. Littering, begging, drugs, even at one point arson, and of course sleeping rough. And all this leads to an increase of residents' fear of crime. Part and parcel of the Safer Communities Partnership Board, which I chair, one of our priorities is to reduce the fear of crime in residents. And as we all know, perception is reality, and if you perceive people to be likely to cause you trouble, then you feel it. And we're trying to make it a priority that our residents in Barnet feel safe. In the consultation that we held, there were 250 responses. 85% of people were in favour of this control zone, 10% were against, and 5% did not actually express an opinion in their consultation. So who is this going to affect? Dare I say it? I won't say it, I won't make jokes, I'll only offend people. A PC in Barnet suggested to me the other day that would introducing this control zone stop a person on the way home from a station buying a drink.
Excuse me. I'd be very interested to know what joke you were going to make then.
No, I'm not going there.
Not one of Councillor Coleman's, I hope.
I think you should be very careful when you don't make jokes not to say you were going to make a joke. It gives a bad impression.
Well, I do apologise.
This is a serious matter, not a joking matter.
That's right.
As I said, I apologise.
Eastern European culture is anger.
Do carry on.
A PC in High Barnet did say to me the other night that would this affect people walking home from a station buying a drink? And the answer is no, it won't. This is about people who stand around during the daytime drinking in groups. So what will happen now? Last week the notice went into the local newspapers. That notice will be out for 2 weeks. The order has been signed by the mayor, and then after that, in around about 2 weeks' time, signs will go up in the borough announcing the alcohol control zone, and then the order will become effective. This is a serious, very serious point. This isn't just about the fact that people drink and we want to hide them away, we want to get them off the streets. This is about the fact that we actually want to get people into rehabilitation. We actually want to get them to get some serious help. Alcohol, chronic drinking is a dreadful disease, and a large number of street drinkers usually quit their street drinking by dying. So it's a tremendous ask to try and get people to get along to rehabilitation, and once they're in rehabilitation, to actually keep them attending so that they get some real benefit and they do address their drinking issues. And that's part and parcel of the priority team's intervention at Barnet Council. It's what the police do. They try and encourage people to take up the rehabilitation courses. But we're also doing a bit of investigation into look at what other boroughs do in order to try and bring street drinkers together, to bring them into an area where they feel comfortable, and we can talk to them and we can try and address some of the issues that they have. Thank you for listening, and happy to take any questions.
Get the gentleman who's got the mic. Thank you.
You are the executive member of Community Safety Public. Is a traffic control coming under you? If that's the case, what are the precautions you are doing to have the invalid parkings in front of the GP surgeries, which is emergently needed?
Were you able to hear that?
No, I think that was a question about traffic and parking. I think we're here probably just to talk about the alcohol zone, because if we venture into every area of council business, we will be here all night. So if I could take a question about the DPPO issue, and possibly maybe address it at the end of the evening.
He is a member of the Community Safety in Public.
I understand you might have a question about parking, but of course
traffic doesn't come under community safety.
And it doesn't come under alcohol zones either.
I'm specifically taking questions around the alcohol zones. We can limit the questions to that, please. There's a man waving a white paper. I don't know, I can't see. There's a man in the corner. We'll go there and then we'll
Can you say who you are and where you're from, please?
Yeah, you want my age?
No, I didn't know.
68, David Shepard.
Sir, please, your question.
Is that all right? Okay. And Gordon, right. Before he was elected, your colleague, Councillor Terry Burton, promised East Barnet traders that he would see that CCTV was introduced into the high street. He was elected,
Sir, can
and
I stop you there, please?
CCTV came in, but the police themselves said that burnt oak was a higher priority in terms of a crime hotspot. Do you have any comment on the fact that East Barnet High Street got CCTV before burnt oak?
Excuse me. Order, please. I think we're taking questions around the alcohol-free zone, and otherwise we will be here all night. Does anyone have a question
CCTV tape
on the alcohol-free zone, ple's?
What CCTV was the taping? Dogs defecating or people?
There's a gentleman there at far. Have you seen that?
David Stevenson, I'm the ward panel chair for West Italy. With the introduction of this new policy, which personally I welcome very strongly, members of the public who observe street drinking after this comes in, should they be reporting what they see to something like to 101?
I think the best way is if they contact their local safe neighbourhood team, because this is about dealing with the problems associated with it. So just someone merely drinking as the Councillor Longstaff said, they drink on the way home, may not cause a problem. So if they contact their local neighbourhood team, we can discuss it as a problem as a whole.
Thank you.
There's a lady here who has a question in the pink. Is it pink? We'll say pink.
Hello, I'm from Richmond Fellowship Mental Health Organisation. My boss just asked me to ask you what you think it will mean for our service users who have drinking problems. I don't know exactly what she wants from that, but
I would hope that you'll see an increase in business, because part of the issue, of course, is solving the problem. It isn't about enforcing the law, it's about solving the problem. And if solving the problem means referring someone into one of the many organisations that are out there to do that, then that's what we aim to achieve. So I hope to be increasing your workload.
Okay. I think as well, sorry, just about our service users, how will it negatively impact on them if they are to be found drinking in one of these areas?
Well, again, it depends on the issue that's causing you. If they're already being cared for by you, we'll get that and refer them in. But of course, if they are causing issues and causing problems and causing antisocial behaviour, one of the issues could be they could be arrested for that. But it depends on their behaviour, it depends what they're doing. But hopefully, if they're under your care, they're less likely to be causing problems.
Thank you.
There's a gentleman here at the front with a little record of
from the council.
Yeah, when we get to it.
Thank you.
I'm Alex McKennell, I'm chairman of the Child Hill, the Safer Neighbourhood team. I've got one slight technical question about these DPPOs, and it arises because in my ward we're bounded also by Brent on one side and Camden on another. These two other local authorities already have enforced sort of anti-street drinking legislation of some sort or another. I just wondered, is Barnet, are the rules for Barnet going to be the same as those in Camden and Brent or neighbouring boroughs? Or is it still the case that you might walk across the street and dodge the effects of one DPPR by just going into another?
The short answer is I don't know what the rules are exactly within Harrow, Brent or Camden, but certainly, as Chief Inspector Cllr has said before, if it's, especially through a community action panel, if it's a regular occurrence, we would expect the PCSOs to be there and enforcing the action.
Hi, Simone Strauss from High Barnet Ward. Good presentation, David. I presume it's for the whole of the borough, and it's for every road, street, park, anything within the borough?
That's right. This order goes across the whole of the borough of Barnet. So if there is problems, regardless, and there are issues in High Barnet, there are issues in Edgware and all over, and such as if drinkers then decide to go and hang around in a park, then the order applies to a park. It's not just to a town centre, to a high road.
Thank you.
David, can we just make it clear that it doesn't affect family parties or things, or parties in a park?
As I was trying to say, this affects people who hang around in streets, in parks, around benches, drinking all day long, smoking all day long. And it's kind of, it will not affect Diamond Jubilee street parties or indeed any other type of street party. It will not affect a family that's just gone for a picnic in one of our lovely parks. It is aimed to reduce people's fear of the potential of crime and to reduce street drinking and the mess and some of the associated, dare I say it again, disgusting things that go on from people who drink and then, dare I say it, defecate in the streets, which is not something that we wish our children to see.
Gentleman right at the back there, it's the...
Councillor Longstaff mentioned the Eastern European culture of drinking in the street. Is there racial and ethnic monitoring of control zones and victim support?
No, there isn't.
So how do you know as Eastern Europeans then that are drinking?
Let me finish and I'll tell you. If you just let me finish. As part and parcel of the consultation that went out, you'd be interested to hear that approximately half of the identified street drinking population in Barnet are white British or Irish, aged on average between 40 and 55 years of age and predominantly male. Nearly all of those individuals have previously been involved with drug and alcohol services, but few remain in treatment, with the majority dropping out soon after starting. This group can be described as having chronic alcohol issues. The other half of the population in street drinking is Eastern European, predominantly male and aged on average between 24 and 40 years of age. Approximately a third of the street drinking population has no fixed abode.
That answers this question.
Is there another question on the alcohol drinking zones? There's a lady here who hasn't asked a question, I don't think.
Are the PCSOs going to have any power with these street drinkers? Like, the PCSOs don't have an awful lot of power. 9 times out of 10 it has to be their PCs or their sergeants.
Yes, the PCSOs are able to do this and seize the alcohol. And
so that they'll be able to take the alcohol off the people?
Yeah, they're all part of the problem-solving process.
Right, okay, but they won't be able to arrest.
No, PCSOs can't arrest, but they can seize alcohol.
If they need to be arrested, they still have to send for a PCS.
The power of arrest is a police officer's process.
Okay, thanks.
One final question. The lady there, she's nearest with the microphone.
Hi. I'm Jo, East Finchley SNT panel, and also work for Bugle and manage an estate in East Finchley. When we've had street drinkers come onto the estate, and we've had issues, we often get told it's private land. Does this cover private land, and will we be supported when we call for people who are non-residents of our organisation?
It doesn't cover private land, it covers land that's open to the public, so it's public access. And there are definitions of what is public and what isn't public. So if it's a public place, then it's enforced. If it's a private place, then no, because if it's somebody's front garden and they're enjoying their alcohol, it is their front garden.
It's people walking onto the estate from the high road who don't live on the estate who will then come and drink in the communal areas.
If it's a communal area, it's a public place, then we can act around that. I'm conscious of the time, ladies and gentlemen. I did say, or it was on the agenda, that someone was going to come along and talk about Taser. I had a phone call earlier on from the Territorial Support Group office who was going to do that, and he apologised to me that he wouldn't be able to get here, but was sending a replacement. And as I look to the door, I don't see the replacement. So I apologise I don't have the professional here to talk about Taser. I don't class myself as a professional on the use of Taser, but I do know a number of things about it, how it's used, a little bit about the science behind it. So what I'm probably prepared to do whilst I'm here is, if anyone has any questions about how Taser is likely to be used within the boroughs, well, this borough and other boroughs, how it's likely to be rolled out, I'm more than happy to take those questions. But just a little bit of background first, and what the presentation would have addressed you about. For those that don't know, Taser is what's described as a less than lethal option. It is a little stun gun that in essence fires out 2 little electric wires and gives the recipient an electric shock that incapacitates them, that allows the officer to arrest them. It is a piece of equipment that has no long-lasting effects. Whilst the electric current is there, a person's incapacitated. Once the electric current isn't there, they're not incapacitated, and they recover. At the moment, it is used by firearms officers, and it is used by officers on the Territorial Support Group. If you go out of London, it's used by many police officers who are routinely patrolling. The Commissioner wants to roll it out to police officers across London for 2 reasons. One, it's about your safety. We are an outer borough. As you've heard, we are a big outer borough. We have had incidents in Barnet, we've had incidents in our neighbours in Harrow and Brent, where people go out intent on committing acts of violence and they arm themselves with all sorts of weapons, knives. Tragically, there were 4 police officers not so long ago stabbed just across the border in Brent. as a result of somebody who went into a butcher's, grabbed a knife and decided he was going to use that knife. Those officers got stabbed, seriously injured. And we all know there are many people who have been killed with the use of knives. And up until the introduction of taser, up until the invention of taser, if someone was armed with a large knife, a large sword, it would be very difficult to send a police officer in there with a small wooden baton against someone with a sword. So the only response often was a firearms response, which again has caused problems. So you have to look at what other options are available. And one of the tactical options is the use of taser. And that is going to be rolled out to a number of officers on each borough. They will have to go through an intensive training package on that use. The use of it is closely monitored. There are clear rules, guidelines about the use of force, of which taser is. It is a use of force. But we will be doing a bigger presentation. In terms of, I can only apologise that they're not here. I will organise another meeting for all interested parties to give you a full, it is about an hour's presentation around the entire use of it for all interested parties. But if anyone has any burning questions about what taser is, how it works, its use, how we're going to use it on the borough, we've probably got 10 minutes until the end of the meeting. So if everyone is quite happy, I can take questions on that. I will take questions on policing, as the borough commander says, and any questions, of course, about victim support. But let's try and keep the topics confined to taser, alcohol-free zone, victim support and local policing, because if we discuss all other aspects of council and police business, we will be here all night. So we'll start with the gentleman in the red jumper. I'm going to do colours jumpers. We'll bring the microphone so they can hear you at the back, and we will work through the audience.
Thank you. Mike Walsh, Chair of the Head and Ward Panel. On taser, I'm just a little bit concerned about the possibility of this being used on somebody who, for instance, has a heart pacemaker. Has this been taken into account at all?
Yeah, the science behind tasers has been rigorously tested. For those of you who, I suppose, researched the subject, it's been out in the United States for a number of years, and it doesn't have an effect on the heart pacemaker. There are all sorts of stories out there on the internet in terms of what it can do and what it can't do. It incapacitates the person, and if we thought there was a risk, and if we just wouldn't use it, it is Home Office approved. No.
Can it kill people?
Next question. Should we work our way back through the room? There's a gentleman there with glasses on his head.
Good evening, Rich Demcott. I'm one of the coordinators from Neighbourhood Watch. Do you actually feel, I can see the taser being used in terms of, there has been a lot of publicity about it, in terms of actually protecting the public and police officers dealing with violent people. Do you actually think it or feel it has any effect on reducing crime? In other words, if they come via the TSG group, presumably that they do, because they're not carried by normal officers, do you think does this actually affect crime levels itself in terms of the taser being used?
I don't think it reduces crime per se as the result we got it, but what it will do and what it does is it brings a very quick resolution to a violent crime incident. There is clear evidence that where officers turn up, if someone who is violent, just the mere fact that they have the taser stops it. It does prevent people from committing more offences. So if you turn up to a violent incident and the officer has got the taser, it is bright yellow, it can't be missed. If it is actually drawn, it has a little red laser dot as a targeting dot, but what that serves as is that serves as a reminder to the person that it is a taser, and the experience from the territorial support group who have used it is, in the vast majority of occasions, they don't have to use it. Just the mere fact that they've got this yellow-looking object with a laser dot, most people know exactly what it is and put their hands up and say, don't use it. Let's go back to the chap behind you.
They can't see you. You're too small, even when you're standing up.
I'm slightly confused here. You say that people would be very concerned if they saw this yellow object. Could you explain, please, why they would be more concerned seeing a yellow object than a gun?
Well, I would imagine they'd be more concerned to see a gun. I take your point. What I'm saying is if we've gone to an instance whereby we have got a taser and it is likely that we may use it, it is that the people see it, they see it for what it is, people know what it is, and for those people, I suppose, who understand the product, that they don't want it used on them. Of course they would be concerned about, you know, if we were drawing a gun, but this is in place of a gun, this is a lesser option than a gun, and the officers won't have a gun.
If I were a criminal, I would be delighted to hear that you're now using a taser and using less guns. That's my point.
No, we're not. Don't get confused. We're not replacing firearms with tasers. We are introducing tasers as an additional tactical option to the police officers who at the moment carry nothing but a small truncheon and a bit of CS spray. We're not, you know, this is not replacing armed police, this is just an additional tactical option.
The other question, if I may, is, I don't know the answer here, where are figures available in America and in this country so far as people with heart conditions who have been, who have died as a result of taser being used on them?
The figures are there through the Home Office, but don't get confused with them as a result of people dying as a result of taser being used on them. And we're not introducing something that's going to kill people here. The taser doesn't do that.
So it's never killed anyone?
The taser has not killed anyone. They don't get me drawn into the science, because as I say at the start, I'm not the professional, and if the officers are here, they would explain it. But where, as I understand it, you know, where casualties have occurred, where fatalities have occurred, it's not as a result of the taser, it's a result of something else within the incident. But as I say, I'm not a professional, so I don't get drawn right down into the nuts and bolts of the science. Let's go to the gentleman there with the...
Yeah. Hello. I'm not sure this is working. Anyway, I'll speak louder. Hello? No?
Switched on?
Yeah, it's switched on, but nobody's on. Doesn't matter. Just a couple of questions regarding the alcohol-free zone or DPO. To Councillor Longstaff. Firstly, you mentioned in your presentation there were a whole set of people who could, in theory, enforce the ban. You've heard different sections in the Act. Who in Barnet will be able to approach people under the power given under the order? And the second thing you mentioned, you've said it many times before, and we're all very reassured about your assurances that it will these powers will only be used in certain circumstances. And the lady over there talked about the park, and somebody mentioned about Jubilee Party. Will there be a published kind of operation policy on the use of this thing, and what will members of the public who feel that they have been approached in an unfair manner when they weren't behaving, as you said, smoking cigarettes and hanging around in antisocial behaviour in a town, what mechanism will they have if they wanted to challenge that? And on the same kind of issue to the police officer, what papers or what material will you be publishing on a maybe yearly basis to show how these powers have been used and in what circumstances, so the public can see that they're being used in the way that they were intended to be so? Thank you very much.
I've forgotten the first question now.
The people who can enforce the...
the type of people who can enforce it. Well, I think I'll have to leave that. So it's certainly nobody from Barnet Council. But can I ask...
Yes. In enforcement law, it's police officers, because, as I said, the sanction for this ultimately is to arrest people that are causing problem and don't hand over the alcohol when required to do so. So the enforcement is the police. In terms of answering your last question, yes, of course, all the figures are available, and we have a procedure. We have guidance to the officers in its use, and then, as you would imagine, we collect statistics in its use, and that information is open to the public, and we collect that. So a simple request, and I can provide that information.
Will that include the circumstances in which or just the number and location of the uses of the order? Will it actually give some summary of the circumstances of the...
In terms of an end-of-year figure, it would be figures, because to go into each individual circumstance and withdraw that. But in terms of if someone had a concern about a specific incident where the power was used, then by all means we'll look at the circumstances and we'll talk about the circumstances.
Okay.
Can I just say that as through community action panels, when they have a particular problem and they've identified it, before they could not use it as a priority for the Community Action Panel. Now they will be able to direct their neighbourhood officers to deal with a specific issue.
I think we're 1 minute to half past. We've got to one. There's a. Well, yes. I mean, that's the intention, to use it on people that cause problems. There's one last question. The man with his hand in the air there.
Simon, it's a local policing question for you. Just to remind people, it's David Stevenson, West Finchley Ward Panel Chair. Now that the demands on police of the Olympics and Paralympics have been completed, can we look forward to a more visible presence of foot patrols at neighbourhood level?
Yes. Sure, that's it.
Wait. Because I haven't seen them around my way for about a year.
They're here, they're back. So, one last question. Right at the very back, I've just been and then we'll close. I'm not sure whether it's working, you might have to shout.
My name's Adam, I'm independent. Street leaving is quite a big problem in Henton and around Henton Central, and the Henton Market in particular. Now I get the idea of the street leaving zone, but how do you enforce it? According to statistical figures, you've had a 42% cut in BCSOs in the last 2 years in Barnet, and 12% cut in fully volunteer officers. Now, you've got lots of competing priorities across the borough, as we've heard tonight. How can you actually enforce this on a borough-wide basis?
As you heard Mr. Rusher say earlier on, we are putting more of our officers into that front line. We are enhancing the neighbourhood policing teams, and they will be the ones that will be enforcing this. So we are up to strength with our neighbourhood policing teams. So in terms of when you give that 12% figure, I don't know where that's come from, but we haven't decreased. But we are enhancing the neighbourhood policing teams, and that's where the enforcement will come from. Get the super microphone back on. We haven't seen the final figures, but how I anticipate it, what will not happen is they will flick a switch, and today we've got safer neighbourhoods, tomorrow we've got local policing with all the extra numbers. They will come, as they come out of the training school, they will come through us and they'll be allocated to us on, however many we get, from each intake. So between now and April, the numbers will be increasing within neighbourhood policing, and they will continue to do so until they get to whatever the maximum number is set. It won't be not here today, here tomorrow. It will be just a gradual increase as we put the structures in place to do that, yeah.
Hale's been down for months and months and months. It hasn't been a full team.
Yes.
And there's a new officer arriving, so that's part of the end of the process. As an officer leaves one of the Olympic command posts, they come to us, so they're dismantling that.
We lost an officer back in May, and it hasn't been replaced so far. I know she's supposed to be retired, but PCSOs, we've only had 4 for a long time.
And as I say, we replace them. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not rushing out of the door, I am still here, so feel free to come and ask me some questions, but it's been a long evening. Thank you very much for coming. I shall hand you over to the chair. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.